Antoinette, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Lynn. How are you today?
We made it. I'm just thrilled we made it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
were telling me you had some questions about passwords.
Oh my gosh, so many questions. Okay, we're a nonprofit, as you know, but like passwords and security sometimes overwhelms me. It seems like there's like passwords everywhere. I like get on one little site that I want to order something on and I got another password. So I've started using some password managers, like Google has one,
Yep.
and like there's so many others. I think I have LastPass, and I think there's another one that I have too. So tell me more about password managers, and is it okay? And what's about if I have too many?
Yeah. So I think first of all, having too many is probably just up to you as a person and whatever keeps you organized. But I think password managers are definitely more than okay. In fact, it's probably the way to go if you can. Um, So your passwords are only as safe as the password manager, right? So don't just go download a random one uh, and throw all your passwords in there. Find a reputable one, and you can always look online at reviews and kind of get ideas from that. It's just like anything. You wouldn't hire a contractor if you've never heard from anyone else that they're good, you know?
Yeah, is Chrome
So,
okay?
um, sorry.
Is Chrome's browser one
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, the Google one is perfectly fine, especially because it's built directly into Chrome. So
Okay.
it makes it really seamless. You can go into your website and it'll usually just autofill for you, which a lot of other password managers do, but you have to install the add-on to the
Yeah.
browser for that. I personally use LastPass, and I have that on my phone and in the browser and everywhere. So I actually don't know a lot of my passwords. The only time I don't use it is if a website doesn't allow me to copy and paste in a password.
Yeah, that can be frustrating.
Yes, and it's a huge no-no. Websites should absolutely never do that. We should always complain to them when they don't allow us to copy and paste in passwords.
Now, when you use your password manager, do you just allow it to select and give you a secure password, or are you typing in something?
I allow it to pick for me. It
Okay.
can come up with a better one than I ever could.
Okay.
And it should always be a random, like, string of characters. It should always be a mixture of uppercase and lowercase and numbers and special characters. But more importantly, it should always be long. Um,
Yeah.
yes, longer passwords are better than strong passwords every day of the
Okay.
week. If you did the entirety of the alphabet, it would take longer for like a program to guess that password than it would for like an 8-character one with special characters and uppercase and lowercase letters.
Okay. Cool.
So always
So,
shoot for long.
um, are I guess the other thing about passwords is I know that back in the day, there are some accounts that I'm sure that I set up somewhere along the way, and it probably didn't have a strong password because, it was eons ago when I had maybe, handful of accounts and I'd use the same account number or password because that's what I would remember. And it didn't seem like at the time it was as prevalent on my mind that I need to have strong passwords. So I don't think that I have gone back to every account and changed them. Tell me what's my risk if I don't? Is it based on what data is there, or what do you think?
It can be based on what data is there. I think that if it's, for example, like a bank account, you
Oh,
should probably go change it.
that's not it.
Yeah, but if it's just like a random social media account that you signed up for or something, then it's probably fine. Anything that can connect to your money, so a
Oh,
bank account or like a shopping account that has connections back to your bank, like things like that, it's probably better to keep a closer eye on. But
okay.
it's just like you randomly signed up for Snapchat once and never went back and changed the password. Okay, like
That
it's
makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And now I'm even thinking, do I need to go and change my password and make it stronger for my bank account? Maybe I do.
And the best way to find out if your password or if anything has been found in a data breach is to use a website called Have I Been Pwned? And we'll put that right here for you to kind of go and check out. But
Okay.
it's a great website started by Troy Hunt, who is a security researcher who received a bunch of data breaches and would go through and verify them. And he will post them on this website. So you can search your email address and see if it's been turned up in a breach.
And then if it has, what would be the ramification? So if my name is there, what alarm should go off or what action should I take?
Usually it's just as simple as going to change your password. It really depends on what it was. Like there was a data breach for Adobe a while ago where a bunch of email addresses were exposed. So honestly, it depends on what the website was and then also what data was exposed. Sometimes it's not a password included, so you're usually okay.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just email, which means you might be getting a bunch of spam or phishing emails increase.
Yeah.
So I think it's just an increase in general vigilance that comes with finding out that you were involved in a breach.
Cool. All right. Change the subject just a tiny bit because we have hearts towards nonprofits because we're on the board of a nonprofit.
Yep.
So let's switch gears and talk about nonprofits and what does it matter to them and how do you handle this whole security topic, which may be a little even bit broader than passwords. Because you're talking about you have data for maybe volunteers and data for maybe contributors and things like that. So how do we keep that stuff safe and what do we need to do?
So I think the best thing to do, especially when you're storing data, is to make sure that if you're storing it in the cloud, make sure where you're storing it has all of the different security practices in place that you would want to see. For example, encryption at rest. If you store something in Google Drive, that is encrypted at rest, meaning if someone were to go and steal the hard drives from a Google data center, they couldn't read it. And those are like most places have like the most basic security controls in place. So you don't really have to worry about it as much, especially if you're using a cloud platform. However, if you're doing something on your personal machine, like you're storing it for whatever reason, just like on paper or just like locally on your computer, then that becomes a little bit more difficult. So you want to like, most computers encrypt their hard drives. So if someone stole your hard drive, they couldn't read it, but you always want to be sure about those kinds of things. If you're storing things on paper, lock it up. Don't just have it out in the open. I shouldn't be able to walk into anyone's office and immediately know someone's social security number or credit card number because there's a piece of paper sitting out. It should be difficult for me to identify that kind of stuff. I think that for the most part, a lot of the technology that's out there for nonprofits to use and just anyone who's storing information, it's been really easy to kind of follow the most basic security standards of making sure that people's data is protected. The weak link, as always, will be those passwords. If I can guess the password to the Dropbox and get everything, then that's the problem. So that is
not really the Google sheet. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not really the Google sheet that you put it on because that's encrypted. It's getting to that Google sheet.
Exactly.
It's the problem.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's me convincing Google that I'm you. And yeah. And so that's where things get a little murkier. And that's why like your first line of defense is to always have a good password. And if you for whatever reason know that you can't have one, then having multi-factor authentication so that if anyone ever tries to log in, you always get a notification like a second level that's asking you for something. The best rule of thumb is something you know and something you don't. So you know your password and then you get a one-time code. It's something you don't know.
Gotcha.
So
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of, my phone, for example, has a lot more security to it. It's got the face, or the older one had the thumb. So if I have not a super weak password, or sorry, not a super strong password, but then have that, it helps. But it's also better, I'm thinking now after this conversation, to have both strong
Yeah.
password and the multi-factor.
It is absolutely better. And there are even levels to multi-factor authentication. For example, you can get a text message. Some send an email. The best of the best would be a hardware token, which is like you have a little thing on your keychain that just has a rotating password, or like Google has an app that just has a rotating one-time code.
Okta is what I think of when I'm hearing that.
So yeah, they like those are there's like a hierarchy there, but having a text message or SMS is still better than nothing. For most people.
Got it. All right. Do you think that we hit the topic? I know I've learned some things, and I think I'm going to go out and change a couple of passwords after this conversation.
Yeah, I hope I helped. Obviously, if anyone has any questions, feel free to comment below this video, and we'll get those answered for you.
And another action item. I need to go to that website that you mentioned. Tell me it again.
It is haveibeenpwned.com.
Haveibeenpwned.com. Cool. Well, Antoinette, have a wonderful rest of your Friday. See ya.
See ya.